Hi, my name is Melissa Falkowski. I'm the advisor of the Eagle Eye at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, and today we're going to talk about how to use Spark to tell multimedia stories. And we're going to start by looking at some of the multimedia stories that we have done at the Eagle Eye using Adobe Spark. So this first one that's on the screen is a recent story that the students did about Black History Month. And if you click on it, it will load Adobe Spark. We're going to give it a second to load. And so one of the things that we like about Adobe Spark is that it really gives us the ability to have more visually impactful stories than what you typically get on a regular website post. So typically on a website post you see, picture, story, and sometimes you might see some embeds like a video embed, but Adobe Spark allows you to have a little bit more creativity in the layout and what the story looks like, and that's kind of a powerful tool for us, which is why we started using Adobe Spark. So as we look at this Black History Month story, you can see that there are a lot of pieces that go into it. So the first piece is this story about the origin of Black History Month, and then the second piece is a timeline. And these are buttons that if I click this button, it will take me to that piece or that part of the story. So this is the story about the origin of Black History Month. And then if I click on this one, this will take me to the timeline. And so with the timeline is not created in Adobe Spark. So this is something that is created with another tool. And then we take the link to the finished product of that tool, and we link it to this button here in Adobe Spark, and so that allows us to bring in even more pieces to the multimedia story. And then if we scroll down a little bit further, there's another story about our school's Black Student Union, and then a story map, which is also created using an outside tool, which is linked to this button right here. Then we have a quote package, and then we have videos. Please excuse that background noise if you can hear it. Apparently we've decided that a leaf blower is good for right now as I'm recording this video. All right, so we have a couple of different videos here. So these are a few different students talking about how Black History Month is important to them and why. And so we have one of our administrators, and then we have 3 students. And obviously because of COVID, we don't have a lot of students that are coming to school. So in order to record the videos, we have asked individuals to record those videos and send them to us. And then we take those videos, put them on YouTube, and then they're easy to embed inside of the Adobe Spark. And then finally, the last piece to this multimedia story is a set of links that will take you to other related stories that we've done. And so you can see, though, that the look of Adobe Spark is a lot more dynamic than what you get on a typical web post. And so that's one of the main drivers for why we use it. So I'm going to go ahead and close these. And we will take a look at this. We'll take a look at this story that we did. So this is one that we did last year, and you can see, like the other one, it has a lot of pieces to it. So this was a rally that happened in Tallahassee. It was teachers and education-related employees who came to Tallahassee to basically rally for more funds for education. And we have a video embedded that shows a little bit of the day.
Mr. Commissioner, you cannot intimidate us. Mr. Commissioner, you don't scare us.
right, so you get the idea. This is one of the things that we love about Adobe Spark, though, is the dynamic look of this. If you tried to build this in a regular web post, it definitely wouldn't have as an impactful of a look as what you get from Adobe Spark. And so this story also has a lot of pieces to it. If you click on this, it takes you to an infographic. Right, so this takes you to an infographic that compares what the FEA is asking for with education and what the governor was planning on doing as far as education funding is concerned. And then if we go back to the original piece, there's a photo gallery. So these are just pictures from the day, from the events. And then we also have a photo timeline, which we did using Adobe Spark as opposed to an outside tool and linking to the outside tool. So if you scroll through, right, you can get a feel for the event. And then there's an article about the day, and then there's an article of giving background on how we got to this point that teachers felt the need to go to Tallahassee to rally for more education funding. And then there's highlights from the various speeches that took place that day. So these are quotes from the different speakers. And so you can see how this has like a much more dynamic look, right, than just putting the quotes into a story. And so what we find Adobe Spark is the best for is really for stories that have a lot of pieces to it, stories that might be complex and have multiple components. Sometimes we'll choose to tell those stories in our print issue, but other times we'll choose to make them a multimedia piece. And the two that I've showed you so far, one was about Black History Month, and then this one is sort of a news story, but we've also done multimedia stories. We've done multimedia stories for sports. This is one. And this one is a lot less complex than the other ones that we've seen. So they don't have to be as complex as the first two stories that I showed you. This one is a lot less complex than that. It has sort of a basic breakdown of the season before the season. And then it has a little video that talks about how their season was disrupted, right, because of a tropical storm, and then COVID ending the season. And then there's a poll that you can click on to take a poll. So this one is actually not super complex. And it can, so Adobe Spark can be, as simple or as complex as your storytelling calls for. We tend to like it for stories that have lots of components to it. And that's sort of how we implement it. But every now and again, we'll use it for something like this that's a little bit more simplistic, just because it gives you sort of the power to make the layout and the look of the story look how you want it to look. And that is sort of the power of Adobe Spark. So I'm going to get into using Adobe Spark and how to use it. So those were just some examples. And the first thing to think about when it comes to Adobe Spark, though, is where these stories and pieces that get built are going to live. So we have a Gmail that we use for our publication, and with that Gmail, we signed up for an Adobe Spark account. One of the things to think about in how you're going to organize the pieces is if you have somebody on staff, right, who wants to make an Adobe Spark piece, and they make their Adobe Spark piece and then they graduate, and then 2 years later they decide that they're going to delete this Adobe Spark project that they did when they were in high school. That doesn't give you control over the stories that are created by the publication. So all of the stories, all of the multimedia stories that we create using Adobe Spark are built on our staff account for Adobe Spark for that purpose, so that the the publication for years down the line will always have control over those projects. So that's something to think about in terms of if you're just getting started on Adobe Spark, or even if you've already gotten started on Adobe Spark, you should think about having one common account where all of the projects can live so that they're not sort of scattered to different staff members who then have control over the projects and you don't have control over the project. So that's something to consider. The other thing that's really important to consider before you even start a project is package planning. So how many pieces do you have that go into the story? What do you have that's going into the story? Do you have video? Do you have photos? How do you want to have a main menu for the story that then when you click on those things will take you to the other the other pieces that are involved? Or do you want to have just one main page and you're just adding content to that one main page? So those are all things to consider before you ever even go into Adobe Spark and start a project. Is how is this project going to be designed? What are the pieces to it? And where long term, where is that piece going to live? So that's something to think about. All right, in terms of using Adobe Spark, it's really very intuitive. So once we log into Adobe Spark, if you click the plus button, you have all these options here. You can create a flyer, an Instagram story, an Instagram post, Facebook post, or a web page. And all of our multimedia stories are web pages. They start as a web page, especially the ones that are, multi-piece. We have a home page, a landing page that will then link to all the other content that we're adding. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the plus button and we're going to start a new web page. Okay. And then when you come in here, in the top right-hand corner, you have theme options. So off to the right-hand side here, we have this flyout menu, and this will give you all different looks, okay, for your Adobe Spark project. So you just have to, you can play around with it and pick different ones. This Luca one is the one that we used for the Tallahassee one, but there's several different options. So if we go ahead and we select one option, then this, like I said, it's very intuitive. So this plus button is for you to add a photo that is going to be the background. Okay, and you have a bunch of different options. You can look through Adobe stock photos to find free photos. You can also search, and then you can upload a photo. So I am going to upload these random pictures that I have. So we'll start with this Riverdale picture. And then I can add a title to my story. So this can be, my headline for the story. And then, my subtitle could be, by whoever it's by Melissa Falkowski. Okay. And then once we get lower than here, so it says scroll to start writing your story. So now you have this plus button to add whatever it is that you want to add. So you can add, let's say we wanted to add a caption to this picture. I have the ability to manipulate the size. I can put it in italics so that it differentiates it, and then also I can change sizing on it. And I'm going to put it back to being small. Okay, so now I can add something else. So you have several options here. You have text to add story. You can add a button, right? And a button is basically a link to something else. You can add a video. You can add a photo grid. You can add a glide show. And I'm going to click on that to show you what a glide show is. So basically you add photos and then you can add text on top of the photos, on top of each one. And you do that for each picture. And then as you scroll through, it will then have this sort of dynamic moving text that comes over to give you more information about the pictures. So the glide shows are are really, you know, interesting looking. And we're going to go back to our project. Okay. Other things you can add is a split layout. So we use split layout a lot. You'll notice that on those example stories that I showed you where there's an image and then on the other side there is, right, text information or like a button to take you somewhere else. And you can also easily flip-flop it so that you can have the picture on the right. Sometimes we do that where we have like alternating. We'll add like another split layout, and so this one the picture's on the right, and for this one the picture's on the left. And then you just click to add your image, click the plus button to add text or to add a button or to add a video. And we typically use this for text and a button. So we'll say what this is, like we'll put a headline of whatever this thing is that they're about to click, and then we'll add a button. So when you add a button, you put what you want it to say. You can say, click here to read the article or whatever you want it to say, and then you put the link to whatever it is that you're linking to. So the way that a lot of our projects are set up is that they're a series of Adobe Spark pages. So both the Black History Month and the Tallahassee story, when we add buttons and that button is taking them to another Adobe Spark page, that is a page that we created separate from the home page. So in this project, let's think of this as our home page, our landing page, and everything is going to connect to this. So if I wanted to link this to another Adobe Spark page that I've created, I'm going to go back to my account. And I'm going to click on this. And I would go ahead and I would go ahead and grab this link for this page that I've created, and then I would put it here in the button so that when someone clicks on this button in the published version, it's going to take me to that other Adobe Spark page. So our projects are a series of Adobe Spark pages that are all linked together. So we have the one home page that is like I said, a homepage essentially directing you to the different parts and pieces of the overall story. And then for each one of those parts and pieces, we're creating another Adobe Spark page. And the only exception to that is when we're linking to a timeline or a story map that is not created in Adobe Spark. So sometimes we use JS timeline or sometimes we use JS story map to create a story map or a timeline, in which case instead of putting a link to an Adobe Spark page, we would put the link to the story map or the link to the timeline, and then we would say click here to view the timeline or click here to view the story map. And then we would put that link, that direct link. And you can also use this to direct them to a web page, or you can direct them to a page that's a story that's on your actual website. It really can be used to direct the reader anywhere that you want them to go. Let's talk about videos. So when you add a video, the video has to already be created somewhere. Typically, we'll use YouTube videos. So if it's a video that we create, then we'll create it, upload it to YouTube, and then we'll take the link to the YouTube video and we'll paste it. You can do the same thing with Vimeo, and then you can also create videos in Spark Video, and then you can take the link from Spark Video and put the link in here for the video. So it's not embed codes though, it's direct links. So let's go to YouTube and we'll grab a video. Let's see what's trending on YouTube today. All right, well, we'll take this. All right, so that's what we want. That's what we want our video to be. So we'll copy the link and we'll save it. And now we have our YouTube video embedded. And so it's really as simple as that. And Adobe Spark keeps giving you the option to add as many items as you want to add. So you can add as many photos and text and split layouts and glide shows, and you can have this sort of like one continual story that goes on, or you can choose to break it up into pieces, create these individual pages and link them together to a home page, which is kind of how we organize our stories. Okay. So let's talk about when you're all done. So when you have your finished product, you're going to go up here to publish and share a link. And when I do that, it's going to give me the option to create a headline, and I'm just going to call this Riverdale Season 2 because that's what the picture is. And then I can pick a category. Okay, this is photography, this is lifestyle, this is education, or it's something else. All right, and then if I add my own photo credits, it's going to add the photo credits all the way at the very, very bottom of the page. And then I click, I'm going to turn this off because I don't want anyone to see this on the Adobe Spark web page. And then I have lots of options. So what we use on our website is the embed code. Oops, sorry. So what we'll use is the embed code. And then if you make changes, right? If you make changes to your project after you've already published it and grabbed the embed code, what you can do is just click to update link, and then it will automatically update it. So let's say you create this multimedia piece in Adobe Spark, and you find a mistake, you find a spelling mistake. So you've already embedded it on your website. So what you can do is come back to the original page, fix the mistake, update the link, and it will automatically update that for you, so you don't have to republish or change the embed code that you've already used. So what we would do is we would take this embed code and we would go back to our website, and we would make a post for it, and then we would use the embed code to put the Adobe Spark into a post, which is what these all look like. So this is the embed. So we make a headline for it, and then our readers can click on it and it takes them to Adobe Spark. So it's really an intuitive tool and an intuitive program. It's as simple as just adding the details and adding what you want, adding the photos you want, adding the media that you want, adding buttons, and really deciding on how it's all going to fit together. So probably one of the most important things, aside from learning how to use Adobe Spark, which I think is pretty intuitive, is really the planning that goes into a particular package. So how is it all going to fit together? Is it going to be one Adobe Spark page with all of the information and it continues to scroll down with different pieces? Or is it going to be the type of story that has like a main menu and branches out into different pages? And so just to show you, I'm going to go back to our project so that you can see. So you can see here, this is the page for, this is the landing page for the Black History Month. And then when you click on the different things, it takes you to another Adobe Spark page. So that Black History Month story was a home page, plus it was 5 additional Adobe Spark pages, and they were all linked together through this one home page, okay, where once you click on something, it will take you to that other Adobe Spark page that was created. Okay, so typically what we'll do is we'll set up the home page, and we'll put all of the pieces on it, and then once these other pages have been created, then we'll take the links to those pages and we'll put them onto the buttons, and then that will take the reader to the other pieces of the story. So when you're creating a complex story that has lots of pieces, you should really see it as a series of connected web pages. All right. So we are going to provide for you photos and text and video and different components in order for you to try to recreate one of the stories that we created on Adobe Spark. So this is the story that we're going to give you the pieces to. And so this is a story we did in October when we returned to physical school. And so this is the same type of thing that we were talking about before, in that it has a menu, and on that menu, when you click the button, it will take you to the other Adobe Spark page or the other piece of content, depending on what it is. So we have this piece that will take you to a story about us returning to school. And then additionally, if you click here on this button, it will take you to a timeline that was made using an outside tool to go through how the calendar was altered when we came back to school. And then this piece talks about rules and procedures. And it's a video. This is an infographic. These are frequently asked questions. And then this is a message from the principal. So we're going to provide you guys with all of the pieces, all of the text, the photos, and the links to and the videos and the links to all of those things, so that you can try to play around with Adobe Spark and build your own version of this story.